All right, guys. What's up? Coach Ben here. Thanks everyone for tuning in. What's up, Logan Barbell? Just letting a few of you file in here. Sip of coffee for the working man. My touchdown mug. Got a great show today. A few more of you pile in here. Welcome to the show today. We got a lot of great questions that came in, and we're doing another discount code. All right, welcome to Bench Talk Live. How's everyone doing? Again, just like last week, we are doing a 20% off code for today only. So tonight, it will expire at midnight. So please stay with us because we will announce that 20% off code halfway through the show, about give or take. And then also, for tuning in today, we are giving away a Big Benches t-shirt. And you have to either be watching the live stream from Instagram and or YouTube. Okay, so very simple there. So stay tuned with us. We're going to be giving away that 20% off code. That's good for tonight only. Bigbenches.com. So if you're looking to get wraps, elbow sleeves, if you're looking to get a 6-week bench program, you can save good on that. So thank you for tuning in, everyone, and let's get into some questions here. And Vanilla Gorilla says that new hat looks amazing. Thanks for bringing that up, my friend. I did want to touch on that. These new hats are in. This is a camo snapback. You can see it's mesh trucker hat, if you will. What's up, Jingle Hire Smith? How we doing, buddy? Um, so these hats are available in camo, blue, red. They're available on bigbenches.com. So if you want to listen, get the code during this podcast, you can save 20% on that. They go for $19.99. All right, love these hats. Great embroidery right here, big logo. We made these ourselves, so we did them right. All right, guys, let's get into some questions here. Let's start off with Adam Bell, 102. What's the next weak point you're addressing personally to be able to hit that next big PR? So for those who are not familiar with what I've done in my career, my best bench is 820 pounds. I did that at a body weight about 264. I have significantly lost a good deal of weight over the past few months, about 20 something pounds. And you see, otherwise I would not be wearing this shirt, but now it fits. Meet me on the bench t-shirt you can get on our site as well. Um, so right now I'm just kind of getting accustomed to that drop in body weight because bench is probably the first lift out of any that is going to be highly affected by a drop in body weight. Very simply put, if you want your bench to increase, you're going to gain some body weight, and that's a sure way to do it. But since I lost a good deal in a relatively short period of time, I'm just gonna have to get accustomed to training at this lower body weight. This, my expectations have shifted dramatically. We'll be competing at 242. I walk around under 242 at about 236 pounds. So this next meet, I'm just trying to get a number in at 242, whatever that may be. The weights that used to feel pretty light are feeling decently heavy. But I'm sure after that, I'm going to be picking it back up, and I'll start to find some common ground where that bench steadies out, and then I'll start making some progress to it. Um, so that's kind of what I'm doing, just kind of getting adjusted to this new body weight, trying to keep my nutrition as good as possible, eat as much as I can of good foods. So that's the biggest thing. And then obviously I've had a shoulder issue since the start of the year on my left shoulder. Haven't really been able to do much raw benching. So trying to do what I can to get around that. But that's also been a hindrance. So those are a couple of the huge things I'm working on to hit that next PR. But we did have a question come in the other day right here by at Giant Kuzicki. Best way to increase a stalling raw bench. And how I answered this was I'd say, sit down, you get your head clear, get into a space where you can think, no distractions, and be honest with yourself. Write down what you struggle with right now. What do you suck at? All right, you need to understand what you suck at before you can look to make progress. So that's the first thing you got to understand. What do I currently suck at? And then the next thing is, what can I do better in training? So you gotta be real with yourself. You gotta ask yourself, am I bringing enough intensity to the training? Am I doing my accessories diligently? What aspect of my training and or nutrition, look beyond training here, what isn't dialed in yet? And what can I get better at? And we all know what we can do better. If you're not eating breakfast or you're missing some meals here and there, that's a huge thing that you can do better. If we really sat down and thought about it, we can really come up with a lot of different things that we aren't currently doing as well as we would like to. So, to answer, this is a general question. Best way to increase the stalling raw bench, because it's so dependent on the person. And just like what I'm doing right now in my training to answer Adam's question to push to that next PR, if you guys are looking to push to that next PR, have one of those sessions where you sit down and you write down all the things that you suck at currently. Okay, because then you'll know how to get them better, and that compounds over time. Powerlifting gets tough once you start, getting in this sport for a while, and progress doesn't come as quick as it used to. It doesn't mean it can't come quickly, but you have to be more selective with the puzzle pieces you're trying to fit. I like to relate the strength game to a jigsaw puzzle, right? You could have good chunks of this puzzle all pieced together, but you're missing that one connector to make it a whole thing. And that's what can happen with your training. You're adding little pieces here and there, but then maybe you have a whole island that you just need one piece to connect the whole thing. And then that's a big substantial gain. So that's strength training, guys. It's a giant jigsaw puzzle. We got some questions coming in from the gram here. Thanks for tuning in live, guys. Logan Barbell, I do a standard conjugate program. Once I have finished the max effort sessions for the week, I do some mini workouts for back, triceps, etc. And by the time I get to the dynamic sessions, I feel run down. Thinking of changing the program up a bit. Yeah, so it sounds like I definitely probably wouldn't add that extra bit. First, if you like that training style, the conjugate program, I would first look to potentially take away those extra accessory days that you're doing and see if you're better recovered come dynamic effort. And then also what I'd probably look at is what you're doing on the dynamic effort day. Because what I find, large majority of the time, lifters who do dynamic effort, they're actually doing it way too heavy to what they should be. And that's a tough thing going off a percentage. If everyone had access to a speed unit, I would make every dynamic every day based around how fast the bar is moving for that person. All right, because we associate the dynamic effort with a percentage, some lifters aren't very explosive. Therefore, if they're benching at 45% of their max, and I will start our lifters doing dynamic effort work in a cycle at 40% of their 1 rep max on the bar. If you're a 300-pound bencher, you're under a plate. All right, so that's how low the weight on the bar needs to be, because we're adding the band tension and we need this shit to move quick. All right, that's the thing, is someone's 40%. If you're a real explosive lifter, you might need to add a little bit more to the bar. 40% is not going to be very significant. You're going to move very quickly, which is the point. If you're not a very explosive lifter, you're a very slow lifter, then you are going to want to start probably even lower. And that's why I would say if we had a speed unit reader, then we could dictate the bar weight via how the bar is actually moving. So that's something that I would look at there, my friend, is what are you doing for your dynamic effort day? What kind of weight are you using? Are you using too much weight? What are you putting into that day in terms of accessories? So I think anyone can rewire a certain program structure to fit them, but um, it's really finding the right structure, and then what do you need to do to rewire it a bit. So I'm sure you can continue to find success with the Conjugate program, my friend, but you need to make those tweaks, and you need to figure out what's going to keep you fresh. As you said, you're getting run down at dynamic effort work, and that shouldn't really be the case. So um, I'm sure you can make it work. You don't have to ditch it all completely together, but there are other ways to make really good progress other than just conjugate style programming. Honestly, and this is coming from a coach, okay, uh, who programs for the athletes. Okay, the program itself usually has much smaller degree of that person's success. Meaning, what I mean to say is the program itself does much smaller amount than people think. So everyone thinks the magic's in the program, right? Not necessarily the case. So as a coach, I focus more on, while the programming aspect, of course, very key, and everything I tailor very individual to each lifter. It takes me a lot of time to do this, but I want to make sure that I'm giving them exactly what they need, and to make those tweaks for them. But the program, it's really, I look more for what they're doing with their technique, the type of effort they're bringing to their training. Because again, there's a lot of ways to make progress. You don't have to run a conjugate style program. You don't necessarily have to do linear periodization. So there's a lot of way to make progress. It's really about identifying your weak points, strengthening your weak points. You see the guys back in the day, they didn't have much structure at all with their program. It was kind of go in, lift heavy, get the hell out. But they all had unique ways to build upon their weak points, and that's really the key. Is as a coach, I'm looking more to identify what a lifter's weak points are, trying to attack that in the programming with whatever structure we're using, which is usually formed around what their schedule is and things like that, and their recovery capabilities. But yeah, the magic's, I wouldn't say the magic's in the program. I'd say that's on the totem pole of things. That's in the middle to bottom tier. And Logan Barbo says, now that I think about it, I might be doing too many accessories on the dynamic effort days. Yeah, so I would first cut out from the max effort days, I would say. So if you're doing conjugate style programming, I would, if you're going to take any accessories out, I would take more accessories out after you do the max effort stuff, because that's already going to fry you. And you're probably not bringing as good a quality to those accessory movements. So before you take them out of the dynamic effort day, I would first just take them out of the max effort day, and I would consider maybe doing some higher rep work that's going to be more recovery conducive, and then save like heavier accessory work for the dynamic effort sessions, like your heavy barbell rows, things like that. So that's what I would first look to do, and see if that helps out. Lifting Mailman, do you like to train at all with the Buffalo bar? I'm a bit afraid to try because of a history of rotator cuff surgeries. So I love that bar, but you do want to be careful with it, because it is going to take you through about 2 inches more range of motion. All right. If you already struggle with keeping good position at the bottom of the bench, if you don't have great range of motion to get down there, if you can't touch an empty barbell to your chest pretty readily, then Buffalo bar probably not going to be the best thing to go to. Now, if I'm doing feet up benching, that's already a significant enough stimulus. If I'm not getting into a big arch, that's going to considerably increase my range of motion, coming from someone whose range is pretty short. Now, if I'm going to use a Buffalo bar, I'm not going to do it feet up. I'm going to do it in a full setup, full arch. In that capacity, I could definitely use it and take advantage of the increased range of motion. So you just have to consider how much that's going to increase your range of motion, if you can tolerate it, and if not, I would use it more as you can use it as a way to get a lot of reps in try to keep this standing up here. Get a lot of reps in, do very lightweight, and get some volume in. And because it'll, without much weight, it'll just kind of passively force you through, or actively force you through that extra range of motion. Using it more like how a shoulder rock works, right? To put you in some new range of motion, strengthen that up a bit. You can use a Duffalo bar like that, but I would be careful from what you're saying on loading it up. So I wouldn't go super heavy. Brian the Hulk Forbes. What's up, Brian? Perfect form work is the key, regardless of the programming. But Benny's got you. I appreciate the thumbs up of approval, my friend. Brian spent some time with our team, and I'm really proud of the progress you've made. He's benching over 820 now. He got me beat by a pound. And I just featured Brian in a video that we did about doing the feet out flat style leg drive and creating a wide base as an equipped lifter, especially. And so check his Instagram out, Brian the Hulk Forbes. He's a great example of what I preach here on leg drive. He's really got that down. Squeakachu, do you have a podcast? I'd like to listen to you talk during downtime at work. Well, this is a podcast as well, my friend. I know you're watching live, but this you can catch on our wherever you listen to podcasts. It's called The Benchcast. And we have a shorter version on Thursday. So every Thursday I drop a shorter version where I'm just talking about a certain topic, and it's usually about 15 to 20 minutes. Whereas this is also available. It's just a longer period of time. We're usually going almost an hour on this show. Yeah, Logan Barbell knows the Benchcast. That's what you guys are listening to right now. Cream of the crop. What's proper form for push-ups? Well, it's going to be very similar to the bench press. It's not going to change much, except you're going to be pressing off the floor. So typically I like to see elbows about, and it's going to vary, but elbows about 45 degrees from the body, and just making sure wrists are stacked over the elbows, and that you're not collapsing the lower back. You're holding good core integrity, keeping yourself braced. Those are all important things to consider when doing push-ups. Mike Frazier, what's up, Mike? Morning, coach. Can you talk a bit more on the self-lift-off, please? So that's a great subject to touch on. So with a self-lift-off, it's very, very tricky. Okay, and those of you who train out of a commercial gym, if your gyms are open, out here in New York, our gyms have been closed since March, and there's no date and horizon for them opening. But if you do train in a commercial gym, it's very, very tough. If you train alone, it's very, very tough. What you can do with a self handoff, what I first would say is set up further back on the bench. Okay, closer than you would be if you were to receive a handoff. Okay, if someone's handing you off, it's not as big a deal as if you're further out. We want to minimize that distance traveled on the takeout, but if you're doing it yourself, you need to skate the line of almost hitting the uprights when you press. You need to really set further back on the bench, because you need every bit of leverage you can, especially if you're working in a slingshot or you're a equipped lifter. I don't know how you would you have to loose enough shirt to actually get a barbell out in a shirt, but you're working with a slingshot or whatever. I've tried to do heavy work with a ram, and I just can't budge a thing. You need to maximize where you are on the bench. You need to lift your hips up. You need to put yourself in this big bridge position so that it feels like you're doing a decline bench. Get your hips up, create that positioning, get far back on the pad, and then when you're grabbing the bar, what we're trying to minimize is how far overhead our arms are. So if I can get right underneath and my arms are slightly over my shoulders, if that, I can just squeeze my back, bend the bar, and drag. Okay, and hopefully I don't have a huge lip to get over, because then I can just kind of drag it right out, not without much effort. If there's a big lip that I have to get over, I would focus on creating a tricep extension rather than a shoulder press up. So I always try to keep, I call it a web in your armpit. So you never want that armpit to open up on you. So what I'm doing right now, if you guys are watching, if I'm going to bend the bar, right, you're going to see how that tricep, back of my tricep there wants to connect in with my lat, and I'm trying to keep that um, connection there, what I call a web. Um, Connect that tricep into that lat, and don't let that separate. And that's going to help you, you know, keep in tune with your back versus lifting with your shoulders and letting your shoulder blades move. What we got here on YouTube, I'm going to have to reconfigure these cameras next time, switch them around. Smoke 417, how do I work explosiveness? So explosiveness, we were just talking a little bit about speed work. I would look to um, do speed work with accommodating resistance, just like you'd see in conjugate style programming. And what we've been doing actually with our lifters lately to increase the intent of our speed work is I've been putting in 5x5s versus doing 9 sets of 2 or whatever the case may be. I've been putting in 5 sets of 5, and if they have someone to time them, I've actually been having them write in how many reps to do, but I'll just have the weight that I want them using and then seconds and time, and I want them to actually log the time. Okay, the weight's already in there, just log the time. Someone hits start, so if it's a deadlift, um, from when you break the floor to the finishing the last lockout, to your benching, start of the rep into the finish of the last rep, trying to make the set time smaller and smaller each set. And if you do that, it starts this little competition within yourself, and you start to move faster and faster. And you're moving so fast, and you're getting the purpose of the speed work down, that you really have to focus in on maintaining technique as you're going through it. So it has that additional effect of making you more aware and vigilant of what you're doing with your technique, because you're going to feel yourself shifting forward or lower back rounding or whatever the case may be. So that's something that we've been doing with speed work, and it seems to be very effective. So, like I said, if everyone had a speed unit, that'd be excellent, because I think, you know, even if you're not sure how to use that for your programming, that thing is a great tool. Just simply hooking up something that's going to record your bar speed is a great tool for challenging yourself, getting yourself to move faster and faster, challenging others against each other, making training fun like that. But anything that we can do to increase intent. So if I'm doing speed work and I'm not having my bar speed measured, you know, I'm just thinking, all right, I'm going to move fast. I'm going to move fast. But I don't have a subjective number to shoot for. As soon as I have that number to shoot for, my intensity of what I'm doing ramps up. So, guys, if you can get your hands on anything that's going to measure your bar speed, I would definitely do that. That can really benefit you. Wandy Wexler Westland. That's some name, my friend. Wandy Wexler Westland. Serious question, not a joke. Is there a hand tool I can use? If you're, I think you're referring to a handoff tool. There is those monolift attachments for racks, and that's about all I really know of, other than some of those benches that are designed to where you just drag the thing out, give it a little lift, and the arms swing back on you. There are some benches designed like that with those kind of swinging lever arms. Um, but the monolift attachment is that similar type of thing. So you'd have to be benching in a rack or have some type of a rack bench build. I forget what that thing's called. That West Side rack or whatever it is for from Rogue there. That thing they got the bench in. It's not quite a rack, but it's just for benching. You can throw the monoliths in there. Oh, he's asking. I'm asking about a hand tool to wipe my butt. I've gotten so big I can't turn to wipe it. Um, that's a very different problem. Um, Listen, it's when she get big, it gets tough. I'd say, hey, work on getting that internal rotation. Work on that shoulder mobility. I don't think there's a tool that can help you. I do think that little butt blaster there, whatever the hell it is, the water, the bodega, or whatever the hell. I hear the butt blaster is an amazing thing. And get that wet splash right up your butt, squeaky clean. So that'll probably help you out. So that's the best advice I can give you on that. Everyone seems to love this butt blaster thing. I'm considering getting one, as well as a squatty potty. I think that'll completely change my bathroom game. Adam says one of the main reasons I cut back down to 242. Yeah, since I'm dropping weight too, everything's been getting easier. I've been squatting onto the toilet paper roll and I broke the holder right off the wall. My wife's pissed. I'm telling you, Wandy Wexler Westland, you got some crazy bathroom habits, my friend. But hey, good luck to you. I would get the butt blaster, honestly. I think the water spray thing is the way to go for you. It sounds like. Vanilla Gorilla Squatty Potty is a total game changer. Love that thing. Yeah, you know what? Every day I go to the bathroom and I'm sitting there and I'm pondering. I'm looking at my phone, and I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, it pops into my head. Man, I should have a freaking squatty potty. Yet here I am today without a squatty potty. So I think it's about time that I invested. Squatty potty exposed my lack of deep squat mobility. I haven't used one, so I assume that I will have a nice wake up call as well. Um, so I gotta get on the squatty potty thing for sure. Let's get some questions in here. At the hybrid hillbilly, how do you know if your training intensity is not at an adequate level? So how I answered this was, if you have to ask that question, it probably is not at an adequate level. If you finish a training session and you're not completely sold that you worked hard enough, you probably have more to give, which is typically the case. Um, so if you do have to ask yourself that question, which majority of the time I bet many of us can look back on a session and we're never truly satisfied. We're always like, I could have done a little bit better. I could have gave more. I could have rested less. Um, I would be honest with yourself and make an actionable step towards bringing more intensity to your training. Meaning, if you want to cut rest periods, cut rest periods. You got to be diligent about it. You can time yourself. If you really need to, you can get a wall clock that does the seconds and stuff, so you can really monitor that. Um, but hold yourself accountable, push yourself, because when there's someone that's not, when no one's there to do that for you, think about when you're a kid, you go to football practice or whatever, right? Or you go to baseball practice, whatever the sport is, and you have the coach there, and he's timing you like, all right, we got to run laps, and you're running around the bases, whatever, you're getting timed. You don't want to do that shit, and then you got to get right back to the back of the line. You're going again. No one wants to do that, but when you get pushed to that level, some of those workouts, doing sports practice when you're younger, if you're looking back on it, you were busting balls in a lot of those. That's some of the best workouts that I've ever had, because you were pushed. You were pushed. You're usually never going to push yourself to the same degree someone else is going to push you. So that's why I love doing battles and different contests and things like that. But it really just comes down to, you gotta come up with some unique ways to unique ways to challenge yourself. Um, that's why I like the contests and things like that, and the battles that I like to pit people up against each other. I'm a big competitive person, so I think that's one of the main things in powerlifting that's missing most of the time for me that would make it so much more enjoyable is just having more competition. I think the fact that there's 50 something different feds makes it very difficult because, unless you're in one of the big feds, a lot of people, whatever, USAPL, USPA, it's really tough to get that competition. Everyone's all scattered out. There's openpowerlifting.org, but, do you really see these people all the time? Do you know everyone? When you say there's just one federation and you all kind of get together at your local meets, everyone sees each other all the time. There's bound to be some really battles going on, where you're like, I'm going to beat this guy's ass this time. And, I think that's missing more in powerlifting. At the lower level, we had WPO and stuff now, which is really cool. Although Dave Hoff is sitting on top of the mountain, no one's really scratching that surface. But, I think that's something that's kind of missing, and I love seeing local meets where they build up each competitor, right? This guy's deadlift so close to this dude's, and I love seeing, you want to see an outcome. It's like building up a fight, and I think that side of things are missing is the personalities and the build up and all that. I mean, no one wants to, unless you're in the sport, no one wants to watch people lifting weights. You don't know what the hell's going on. You can't even relate the amount of weight to what's actually being lifted. Um, like 1,000 pounds is a lot, but someone that doesn't understand isn't going to be able to comprehend that. Um, so it's just, I feel like powerlifting could be promoted a little bit differently. I wish it was a little bit different than it is, I guess, but um, I'm off on a tangent. Let's get some more questions in here. And soon I am going to be dropping the 20% off code. So stay tuned for that. We're going to answer another question. I'm going to be dropping the 20% off code, which is good for tonight only. If you want a hat, you want a program, you want anything from the website, 20% off tonight only, expires at midnight. Dark Gamer BG, what pre-workout can give you most kilograms at the bench? That's hard to say because sometimes you don't want pre-workout. Depends on what type of person you are. I know people who are very sensitive to caffeine, take a pre-workout, they're jittered out of their mind. They're just trying to kind of survive and stop hearing noises and sounding or seeing noises and shit. And then you have some that could use that extra pep in their step. I've been doing a lot of training now without anything but really my espresso or coffee, and I've been making do just as much as before. If anything, I'm a big fan of any product that still has like 1-3 in it. The old Jack 3D stuff, and that's I'll get these little fat burner pills because they have as much stimulants in them as a pre-workout does. And if I need a boost or if it's a bench day and I'm trying to go for a big weight, I like to utilize that or at a meet. But other than that, a sip of coffee for the working man, I guess. Logan Barbell, do you think a conjugate style program can work without dynamic effort? Yeah, so I don't think you need to do dynamic effort. Obviously, the maxing out on a weekly basis is pretty taxing. I understand the variations are going to make that less taxing, less so. Um, the dynamic effort work, I think, really pairs with that very nicely because it's a way to it's a way to train the nervous system quite like that max effort type work. Um, but you could certainly get away with getting some more volume in, but you may find that might be hard to keep up with recovery wise. Because, like I said, dynamic effort, you set it up correctly and the weight is very low and the intent is on the speed, not necessarily upping weight like it should be. Then that workout's it's refreshing. It's like a nice recovery workout, if you aren't going two balls to the wall on it and you can assess where your recovery's at. Logan Barbell, from what I heard from you today, going into that dynamic effort work and feeling fatigued, I'd first probably lower that dynamic effort work, and then I would look to take accessories off the max effort work. I don't think switching to volume is going to be as conducive for you, because Because again, then it's just like you're burning the candle from both ends. You're not getting enough recovery in. That would, maybe you could keep up with that for 2 weeks, but then it's going to start to bite you, you know. So that's my suggestion to you. But there's certainly a way that you could train conjugate style and switch out the dynamic effort work. You know, there's no rules that say you can't. You know, obviously that system's successful for the reason it's successful. You know, I don't like to mess with that too much, but you can always change things to fit you. Okay, you can always do that. So I'll play around with it, see what happens. Let us know. All right, guys, I'm going to drop the code for the 20% off. So listen in. The code for tonight, 20% off, bigbenches.com. Sip of coffee. That's right. Sip, SIPOF of coffee. COFFEE. I really hope I spelled coffee right. Sip of coffee. That is our today's code. And sip of coffee to the working man out there. That's damn good. All right, so that discount code again, 20% off tonight only till midnight. A sip of coffee for the working man, and that code is active right now. So you can go to the website right now, get yourself a hat, get yourself a T-shirt, you know, whatever you want. Program, wraps. All right, guys. I just want to mention I am giving away a T-shirt too. You just have to join us on the Instagram Live or the YouTube Live. Please let someone know about this for next week. Let's keep this growing. I love doing this live show with you guys. If you could tell a friend about it, maybe someone that's interested in lifting. Maybe they're not interested in lifting yet. Maybe we can get them interested. You know, let someone know about the show. I really appreciate that. And it's called the Benchcast, our podcast. They can tune into the Thursday episodes, a little bit shorter, touches on a topic. But I really appreciate that, everyone. Just letting your friends know about the show. And our Instagram, for that matter. I'm sure many people can benefit from getting pointed towards our YouTube or Instagram. Those instructional videos there. At Max Whitman. Do you squat and deadlift, and what are your numbers? So yes, I do, not with as much focus as the bench. It really depends. I go back and forth. I'm sure I'll do another full power meet. My last meet was a full power meet. You know, obviously it's been a while. It's been since December I've done a meet. Man, time flies when you think about it. Shit, time flies too fast. But yeah, so my best squat ever was 800 pounds. That was last meet. You know, finally got that done in a Metal A squat suit. Okay, so looking to next meet, transition to a canvas suit. You can considerably add more to your squat in a canvas suit for sure. You know, it's going to be much more technical. You have to get used to overloading that weight, but that's the plan next time. I have 800-pound squat right now. 820 bench is my best bench. I did 785 in that last meet that I did, and then 580 is my best deadlift. At my lowest body weight, actually, 198, and I did 545 the last meet. Just got the opener. Grip issues. I got all kinds of issues with the deadlift, so you can just name them off. But yeah, I do train those, and the thing that really keeps me training those all the time is that I'm coaching lifters in the squat and deadlift, and you know, it's a big thing for me that, you know, unless you know, you are old and retired, it's important that you do the things that you teach, because yeah, I can get someone that doesn't squat well to squat really great, right? But when you do things yourself, and how I share all the things I do with the bench, is you have to have a good awareness of what's going on when you're doing these lifts as well, so that you know what someone else is going to experience, encounter, you know, feel. So that's very, very important that you're engaging in the activity that you're coaching, in my eyes, in trying to lead the way for your team. Um, so that's what keeps me really pushing those other lifts and coming back for more and trying to keep pushing that envelope, because I want to be a good leader for our team. I want to lead by example. And also, there's a lot to learn when you do things yourself. Um, that you'd probably otherwise miss, and you wouldn't be great at teaching it. So um, that's really the reason why I continue pushing that the way I do. Not that I wouldn't otherwise, but that's really a driving factor for me. At Coach Frankie, good exercises to even out your bench when one side is uneven. So, any unilateral exercises are going to be good to explore. Um, I would look to do like single arm dumbbell presses, overhead presses, things like that. See if there's a big difference side to side. Um, for me right now, I'm experiencing with my left shoulder that the one that's something happened with. Um, I'm feeling that's weaker than my right side in various movements, landmine press, even just a banded overhead press. So I like to spend a little bit more focus on this side, and you could do unilateral tricep movements. Okay, so if you know, hey, I'm having a hard time squeezing out on that left side lockout on the bench, get a little few extra sets in on that left side. Get a little extra work in there, and in time that'll help get you back to that norm. But I wouldn't obsess first off, because everyone is highly imbalanced. No one is perfectly balanced. Um, is strength as well as just your anatomy as well, like how tight you are on certain sides. All right, everyone's going to be very, very different. No one's going to be perfectly symmetrical, balanced. Um, so I do think that people run into trouble when they overthink trying to balance things out sometimes. But if it's a glaring weakness, definitely a benefit to trying to bring up that lagging side, of course. Um, so hopefully that helps out, my friend. That's what I would look to do. That's what I have been doing, is trying to get a little extra work in where you need that little extra work. At Alex L. Thickboy, weak off the chest. What are some exercises variations to help? So anytime we're talking weak off the chest, I'm a huge proponent of doing longer pause variations. Okay, so I touch on that all the time. Do 3-second pauses, 5-second pauses. Make your pauses more stable. Contract harder in your pauses. One of the things that I like to do, take a very light weight and just hold it down there for a very extended period of time, like 10 seconds. Hold at the chest with a very light weight and just work on the contraction with the bar. Um, those are the things that can help out tremendously. Dead press, great movement for building strength off the chest. Um, the dead press into a pause right off the pins. I'm a huge proponent of that as well. That's something that helped me tremendously. Um, it really just comes down to getting stronger in that area. So just spending a lot more time there, I'd say, is probably going to be your best bang for your buck when we're trying to develop strength off the chest. The thing that gets confused a lot of times is with lifters who either touch and go, bang off the chest, or they get into a little bit of that sink and heave pattern. They think they're weak. Actually, that would be midpoint, sticking point, because they're getting that initial pop off the chest. But if you take someone like that and then you have them do a comp pause, well, now it can be a little bit difficult when they're trying to create that stability down there, because typically you can see the descent speed picks up real quick as they get closer to their chest, and then they look to get that kind of a pop. So increased pauses is my suggestion to you. Spend more time down into that weak point. Kobe Dizzle 148. Any tips for increasing back mobility to increase a lifter's arch while benching? I would like to shave a nice half to a full inch off the range of motion in your shoulder bench there. So yeah, so I just posted a video on um, Scap Mobility. Some of the things that I do before I bench are in there, and I have a shirted course coming out at the end of this month, and it's going to have everything in there, especially warm-ups, all the things I like to do to try to increase that arching ability. The big focus on the T-spine, I find a lot of value on running a peanut ball down my spine, specifically in the upper back region. I feel that helps a ton. Be able to position my scaps further down, therefore help reach that chest up a bit more. Um, that's something that I feel a big payoff with, more so with the activation to keep myself in that position. Um, but T-spine works really where I would look to go. And I have that demonstrated in a few videos not too long ago. So check that out. You could probably actually search increase arch big benches and that video will probably pop up. J Bost 556 on dynamic effort upper. Do you agree with Westside on using around 55 plus percent plus change of bands, or Matt Wenning's view that 30 to 40% plus change of bands is better? So I don't know exactly what side is a proponent of what. I'm sure it's changed over the years. I'm sure when Matt Wenning was at Westside, he was fine doing the 55% thing, and now he says 30 to 40%. I do start our lifters off on bench at 40%, and I start them off at deadlift and squat at 50%. So I guess that would meet halfway in the middle there. I think Matt Wenning's view is, more so based on the speed of the movement, which I like. I don't know too much about what goes on Westside now. I'm sure it's changed a lot. But yeah, we definitely start our lifters out bench around 40%. I found that gets the because I just have the eye test to go off of most of the times, because our athletes won't have like a speed unit or anything like that. So I'm watching a video and I'm like, is this a good speed to be moving at? Is this accomplishing what we want to accomplish? Usually 40% is sufficient for that, unless we have a little bit of a slower lifter, and then could drop them even more. But typically I'll start everyone off at 40%, and then we'll do the cycle working through, switch a variation, something like that, or switch a bar, make a new variation for the next cycle. So yeah, I guess I would agree more with Matt Wenning's view, but I would really let the speed dictate it. I wouldn't get obsessed with a percentage number. I would look more so to see what the speed of the bar is. It should be jumping. It should feel like plyo work. So the way he describes it, right, it should feel like that bar is going to leave your hands. You can throw that bar through the ceiling. Same with the squat. You should feel like you could launch that bar over the top of a mono if you had to. All right, that's the type of speed that we're looking to move with, and doesn't require a ton of weight. Mr. Aguilar, recently ordered my first bench shirt. What should my first workout in it look like? Anything specific I should aim for? Yeah, so that's a great question. And again, preluding to our shirted bench course, I'm just really pumped about this course. We put a lot into it. I've touched on everything I really think a shirted lifter is going to need to know. And jam-packed it into this bench course that's going to be available again end of this month. Wow, time's flying by, right? It's already August, guys. But the end of this month, that shirted course will be out. But for your first workout there, what I would look to do, fit the shirt on, get it up as much as you can. I don't know how tight this shirt's going to be for you, but obviously you're going to want to start the breaking process. So get that shirt on, get it up in the armpits as much as you can. All right, you had the collar. Don't have it too low. It's probably going to be around mid chest or so. It'll probably be tight, pulled you in. Don't freak out if it's too tight. A lot of shirts are going to open up on the chest plate's going to open up over time for you. That's why we do a break-in process. But I would look to do a high board So depending on where you're at with that shirt, how much break-in's required, I would take as wide a grip as you can, which may not be super wide to start off. It may be more of a close grip looking bench. Depends on how tight the shirt is on you. But take the widest grip you can and do some reps to a high board. That's what I would look to do. So that's also going to be dependent on your range of motion. All right, what dictates a high board for you? So, I can't use a four board. I would literally take that weight out, hit the board, and put it back in. Um, but that's what I would look to do. Get the widest grip you can manage right now, and just work down the boards. And that's pretty much most breaking process for any shirt. And if you need it, if you're working a really tight shirt, definitely spray it up. First session, I definitely spray it up, anyways. Um, and that's how I'd approach that first session. And then it really depends on where that shirt's fitting currently for you, what your plans are, and stuff like that, what dictates the rest of it, and how many weeks you might actually have to break that thing in before you can consider touching. There's a lot of factors that kind of go into that. So that's where I would start. And if you want, you can email me, coachben@bigbenches.com. Let me know how your first session went. Okay, send me some pictures of how the shirt's fitting or what the grip you've been able to take, what board you were able to work down with, and I'll kind of help you out from there. But I'll probably need a little more info. Colb Strong's in the house. I'll be breaking in a triple-ply monstrosity this weekend. That sounds fun. Um, gotta love a good break-in. Tell you what, I from it's really cool to me to see confidence level increase with lifters with tighter and tighter shirts. I remember when I started out, I got the shirt and I was like, what the hell? I gotta send this thing back? Am I supposed to wear this thing? That was my experience getting the first shirt. I was freaking out because I invested in this shirt. I don't know what the hell I'm doing really. And, first time wearing a shirt, I didn't have anyone really telling me exactly what to do then. Um, so I get this super tight shirt, and I'm like, okay, well, it's supposed to be tight, so that's okay. It's okay. I try to get this thing on. I'm jamming this thing on all day. It's damnest time trying to get it up. And I don't have no one helping me, mind you, because I didn't know that, you're really going to need help getting this damn thing on or anything about shirt slippers or anything like that. And then I'm like, oh, shit, I might just have to bite the bullet, send this back for something. And, now to today, I'll get a tight shirt, right? The collar's cinched in like this. You're pretty much like this with your new shirt. And you're like, this is fine. Give me 3 weeks. You know what I mean? So it's really cool to see your confidence grow, over the course of your career as a lifter, being able to handle tighter shirts and break those in. And now I look at it, hey, this is going to be a fun challenge. So yeah, I thought that was it's a cool thing. Yep, just send me a message there, my friend. So the Dark Gamer wants me to answer about the pre-workout again. Is it possible to add 30 or 40 kilograms to a bench with one pre-workout in one session? I don't think you're going to get that much out of a pre-workout. And I wouldn't have to rely on a pre-workout in order to increase your bench. Justin Deck, are dips a good accessory in your opinion? Yeah, I like dips. I like more so the bench dips for my triceps. So when the bench is behind you and do dips like that. I'm not a real huge fan of doing dips off a tower. I do think that it's a great exercise. You can really load that up. Just personally, I've seen too many pec tears from dip videos that I just don't even want to explore doing dips. I think there's so many ways you can train your triceps that, if you don't want to do dips, you don't have to do dips. If you don't want to do tricep pushdowns, you don't have to do tricep pushdowns. I think there's a lot of ways that you can train triceps how you want, what you feel comfortable in. So I don't think dips are the end all be all. I think they're a good accessory though. All right, guys, we're running up on the hour here. I'm going to be giving out a T-shirt to. I'm going to be checking through the list of who joined Instagram, who joined YouTube. We're going to pick at random, so someone will be getting a T-shirt. Again, let a friend know about next week. And I hope to see this podcast continue to grow. I have a really fun time here talking with y'all, and appreciate everyone who tuned in. It means a lot. And yeah, check out Thursday's episode dropping on the Benchcast. And I will see you all next week.